Okay, we are looking at a sample of a persuasive essay just so we can see some of the features. I'm going to break down into parts the first paragraph, and you can view this video over and over again. If you don't understand something, feel free to contact me. Let me know if you want to run a few ideas by me. I'm available to you, and I want you to know that. Okay, so first thing that I want you to take a look at, though, is before we even look at the paragraph, let's take a look at this first title here that's in this, the title for this particular sample, which is Capital Punishment is Wrong. What's useful about this is that it has the topic within it, which is capital punishment. And if you're not sure what that is, the essay explains it in the start, which is a really good thing. And has the opinion is wrong. So the topic, whatever it is about the topic, is wrong. And that's a fairly useful title. I don't think it's the greatest in the world, but at the same time, it gets the job done because it states what the topic is and what the overall opinion is. And obviously, it's going to get into more detail when you get into the first paragraph. But again, when a person first encounters this essay or this piece of writing, they're going to look at it and they're going to understand that this person has sort of a negative opinion about capital punishment. And so it's very useful and something that you should keep in mind when you're constructing your own essays a little bit later. Now, this part here calls it the beginning. I call this the introductory paragraph. This is a really important paragraph. It basically sets the tone for the entire piece of writing. So there are a few things that I'll show you here that are really useful, and there's also ways to expand on this. It doesn't need to be quite as short as this one. It could be longer, but I'm not expecting you to necessarily go longer, but don't feel constrained by the length of this. But this has all the sort of main components that you should have. And so what does this first paragraph do? Let's get into here and take a look very closely at this paragraph. First thing that it does here is it goes and defines what the topic is about. Now, it doesn't give you the opinion yet. It basically just gives you, this one's giving you a dictionary definition, essentially, of what capital punishment is. The reason why the author is doing this is because they really want to set you up knowing exactly what they're talking about so that you're not thinking about some other form of punishment. You're not thinking about what another opinion is, or you're not getting confused, basically. So they're saying this is what this is about, and they're setting it very clearly by making sure that they define the terms that they're going to be using. And so the first term and the most major important thing is capital punishment. So therefore, they put in the definition: capital punishment results in death by execution. So you can see that right there. It starts right here, ends right over here. This first sentence is basically the same thing as a dictionary definition. And so that's going to be extremely useful because it makes it clear what this is about. That's the whole point of it. Okay. The second part of this, it goes, it is legal in many states as a punishment for serious crime, but that does not make it right. This is partially explanation and it's partially opinion. It says where it's legal. So it's legal in many states. It's talking about the United States there. We don't have this type of punishment in Canada, but in the United States, in some of the states, they do have this as a punishment for crimes. So it says as a punishment for serious crimes. So basically, if you're not sure what capital punishment is, that's when someone gets sentenced for their crime. So basically, they got charged with a major crime, and the state decides, or the judge decides, that that person, for their crime as punishment, they need to be put to death. And so usually that's reserved for things like just horrific crimes, murders, those kinds of things. If you're not sure what capital punishment is, that's just a little bit better of a definition. I think I'm a little more clear of a definition, but this person doesn't really go into that too deep. They just say that it's a punishment for serious crimes. The next part here is right here, which is from here to here, and goes, but that does not make it right. So they're introducing their opinion about it here as well. You don't necessarily need to do this at this point. This author's decided to do that. That's perfectly fine to do it if you want to, but usually you'd save that for the next sentence that's coming up here in a second. It's okay to do that as well. Other things that you can do in this section, which aren't included in this one, you could give like the history or the background to something that, to your issue. You could give anything, like examples of it. It really depends on what you want to do to sort of introduce it. Starting off with a definition like this one is kind of, it's okay, but it's not the most exciting way to start. You could start with like the story of somebody who's experienced this or something, and that it was wrong, or they had been convicted wrong, and so they were put to death for no reason. And that kind of thing would have a little more impact because a person might empathize with your opinion based on that. If that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, don't worry about that. I'll get back to that kind of thing. But that's just adjusting this a little bit. It would change, how you would construct it. But this is fine too. Like, there's nothing, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this. I'm just saying there's different ways of doing it. The next part is super important, and that is this is called your thesis statement. It's the last sentence of your first paragraph. And I'm trying to outline it there, but you can see it there. And this one says, capital punishment should be stopped because it is morally wrong, expensive, and such a slow process. So what this person does here in this thesis statement, it says again what the topic is, which is capital punishment. And then it says the opinion that it should be stopped. And then it gives the 3 reasons that this person's going to use to prove their point. So they're going to argue that it's morally wrong. So you can see that's right here. They're going to say that it's expensive, which is right here. And they're going to say that it's a slow process. And if you go down to the topics, you can see there's no moral basis for it. So that's morally wrong. You can see it has a high cost. So that means expensive. And then finally, it's a very slow process. So you can see that those 3 paragraphs are about those things, and notice that they are in order. So morally wrong is the first paragraph, the first body paragraph rather. The expensive part is the second body paragraph, and the slow process is the third body paragraph. This is your thesis statement. This is absolutely essential for any piece of writing. And if you were doing this like sort of orally as well, or you were debating or anything like that, you would have to have this statement in it. And this is the general way that you would construct it. You would start with your topic. You're going to say what the stance is on it, meaning like, what is your opinion of it? You'll have the because, and then you'll have the 3 reasons why. The reason why you should have 3 reasons for this is that, one, you could have one piece of evidence, and that could just be sort of like, well, okay, that's one thing. Like, there isn't really much to that. You could have 2, and someone could be like, hey, that's a coincidence. If you have 3 pieces of evidence backing something up, like one opinion, that probably means that you have like a lot of research done. It probably means that you've taken a close look at this issue, and that's really why there's 3 main things that they want to focus on here. So that way it's a little more convincing. Doesn't mean that you have to totally agree with it just because they have 3 reasons. And so that is the introductory paragraph. Just a quick overview again. What you do is you define the terms that you're going to be talking about. Again, you're just providing some history, some background, some definition, those kinds of things in your introductory paragraph. And then the most essential part is this part, which is outlined in red here, and that is the thesis statement, which basically has your topic, your opinion, and the 3 reasons why you believe that. And so that's everything for this lesson. I hope you guys can understand this. If you have any questions whatsoever, don't hesitate. Just contact me, and I will make sure that you do understand this, because this is an essential component of the writing process for this. Thank you very much, and I'll see you later.